A lot of you that have been viewing this channel long term know I am a big fan of Chicagoland Speedway. I went there every year from '07 to 19, and I would have been going every year from 20 to 25 and on had they still been racing there. And you're probably seeing me talk about it again and rolling your eyes. Another Chicagoland video. But I'm talking about it only because it's actually out there in the rumor mill and the airwaves right now. And this comes from Jordan Bianchi, who had talked about the future of the Chicago street race, as well as Chicagoland Speedway in his latest mailbag. Now, I'm not going to read every single thing he put. I think you should go and read it yourself. But I do want to look at some of this because I think it's interesting, and I think I have something to add to all of this and maybe pour a little gasoline on the fires of Chicagoland Speedway here. Starting with the mailbag question you got, what is the plan or rumors of the street race in 26? And is there another city as a front runner, or is Chicagoland back? And he talks a bit about it, how the contract is going to expire with the Chicago street course after this year, more than likely. That's a sense in the garage. That's a sense for the most part that I have gotten from people I've talked to, as well as others. Listen, health-wise for the sport, it's probably good to stay in Chicago as long as possible. I'll fully admit it. I wasn't a fan of it to begin with. Really not my thing either. But I can see when stuff is going the right direction, and that is clearly the case for the Chicago street race. But let's also be realistic. This has been a huge headache for NASCAR, for those that are in charge of the city on the political side, the social side, all of that stuff. And there's been a lot of push and pull back and forth on all of it. I get it. But there is some more to add in to all of this. He said, looking at oval options, a return to the Chicagoland Speedway certainly makes sense for multiple reasons. He notes it's in Joliet instead of main Chicago, but it's still in the presence of the Chicago market, which is the third biggest in the United States. And says too with this that Chicagoland at 1.5 miles with the worn surface is an ideal fit for the next gen car, so the likelihood of a stellar race is high. Yes, Chicagoland needs upgrades, so can be expected for a facility that hosted a cup race in 2019 last time it did, but those improvements aren't deemed cost prohibitive according to league sources, and would be significantly less than what it costs to build and host a race in downtown Chicago. From this perspective, if Chicago Street Course isn't on the 2026 schedule, San Diego is a year away. So roughly 2027, Chicagoland would represent a worthy stopgap. So I am going to add a little bit to what I know on all of this. And I get a YouTuber's word versus Jordan Bianchi is very different. A lot probably could have changed since I hear a lot of these things, but I'm going to kind of address some of these points because I do think I have some to add. So yes, this is going to be a perfect track for the next gen. We've said it for years. As soon as we get to road courses and short tracks, we get a car that can't race for a crap at any of those, and we get all the 1.5 miles off the schedule. I'm telling you, the schedule we had from like 2005 to 2017 is perfect for the current car we have. But yes, it is true. And Chicagoland Speedway not only would be good for the next gen, it was good with the 550 package. 2019 was a really damn good race. And on top of that, had a good finish. 2018, if you watch the entire race and not just the finish, really fun. It was fun in person. It's fun to watch on the broadcast. It's an all-time great finish. We've seen a lot of good finishes and races at Chicagoland Speedway under different packages, 900, 750, 550. Why wouldn't 670 horsepower be any different? Especially how good it is at Kansas and Vegas and Charlotte, and probably would have been great at Atlanta. Honestly, it's perfect. Talking about the market here, the third biggest in America was Chicago. From what I have been told and heard from multiple different sources is that whether it be the France family, other execs, other people with interest in the area and in the sport, they really don't want to leave the Chicago market again. So the idea that it's a stopgap, I get in at least some kind of practice because yes, it's holding that ISC date on the calendar. But when you also look at the fact that this is a market they need to stay in, they've lost the California market. They can't afford to be on the big stage of sports leagues and lose Chicago after, yeah, technically being in New York with Watkins Glen, but not having a New York City market, not really having a Southern California market, and then not having Chicago, that's a trifecta. You need those three. And when you look at the talk about trying to renovate the track, they don't need to super speedway this thing. And they've already talked about ISC, NASCAR owned tracks, not going to have that happen, at least in the near and medium and probably distant future. Seems like an SMI thing. So fine there. The racing should be fine. The surface, if I'm not mistaken, is about 25 years old, never been repaved, never been reconfigured, none of that. Don't mess with it until the damn track is coming up. But when it comes to renovations, I do know that they have at least partially upgraded a lot of the amenities with suites and different things like that. They've had events there. So there are people I know for a fact that are keeping up with the track. Does the track need a little TLC? Yeah, probably does. If they announce the schedule, say, I don't know, in September, I guarantee you the track will be ready by March for a race. I think it'll be ready by the summertime when it'll probably be at for what will probably be a Sunday night or Saturday night race. But I do think they need to renovate it. The last couple of years I was at Chicagoland Speedway, that track was suffering bad. It was worn down. It was clear that the amenities in the infield, especially where I was at, were not kept up. There weren't any electric spots, for instance, in my area of the track in the infield. That's a must in 2025, 6, so on. You need to have amenities built up. You need to have amenities around the track built up. There needs to be stuff to do. One of the last times I was there, they had people on a Ferris wheel, and that's great. The fair is great. People like that stuff. You can get a fair anywhere. All right. NASCAR track, you need to add some pretty good amenities. So I'm hoping they're able to do that, whether it be concerts, whether it be fun activities to do. Like at Bristol, for instance, they had a damn monster truck the last time I was there, giving people rides on this dirt track they made for it. So there's a lot that needs to be done, but it's not in any way impossible. They haven't sold off a bunch of the land. It's not going to be made into an Amazon warehouse. People need to understand this right now. We need to get some of these different things that are definitely not true out of the airwaves with it. Chicagoland has been taken care of pretty well. Is there ways that they need to improve? Yes. But this is not some kind of Kentucky Speedway situation or a North Wilkesboro situation. And there's another question that's somewhat similar to the Chicagoland side of it. And Chicagoland gets brought up again, talking about when the schedule for next year would be released. Bianchi brings up late summer, early fall, probably similar this year. But we're expecting that at this point. As for which track not already on the schedule that would be a worthy addition, Chicagoland is the one that immediately jumps out. In its final years, it had evolved into a great showcase for what stock car racing should look like on an intermediate track. And this was even with previous generations of cars that didn't often perform well on this type of track. Imagine how well the next gen car would do there. And he is exactly right. Like I said, the 550, 750, 900 horsepower, unrestricted, doesn't matter. Every one of them produced some pretty good racing in the last couple of years. Were there duds? Yeah. I'm not going to act like Chicagoland was some prime Bristol or Daytona Talladega for NASCAR fans and everyone loved. It wasn't. It was definitely that second tier of tracks, I would say, by the time that it was off the Cup schedule. But here's the important part with all of it. This track has held racing recently. This area is clamoring for racing, right? There's plenty of available area when it comes both to a market as well as to the track itself to grow, to get bigger again. And we've seen this before where tracks get off the schedule or lose their date, come back, and people love it. And they're able to be there in person. If you're able to now have this newly introduced market, which, let's be honest, the Chicago street race introduced a ton of people in the Chicago area to NASCAR. People, when I would go there, because I lived just outside of that market, when I would go back to Illinois, people that didn't give a damn about NASCAR, didn't care about motor racing in general, asking me a million questions about it. It piqued their interest. They were like, wow, this NASCAR thing's actually really good. Where else can we go? Chicagoland's a perfect option. Get these new people to see a good race that is a normal NASCAR race. Because if you can hook them on that, you can hook them on the rest of the year. You can hook them on that. You have a niche supporting group of NASCAR fans in Chicago that can grow over time. That is how you might be able to build more into the future. Doesn't matter any of the other compounding factors around it. Listen, that's my take. I'm going to be overly optimistic. I understand people might not be. But let me know down in the comments below. Do you think Chicagoland comes back in 2026? I'm going to be honest, I do. All right, leave a like in this video, share this video, and subscribe to this channel for more great and fun NASCAR content. Thank you so much to all my channel members for your continued support. And until next time, have a good one.